If there are any movements that you know you shouldn't do or that feel uncomfortable, skip them and do something that does feel good, or take a little break and then rejoin us. We're gonna start with the arms just long at the sides and the knees and feet hip width apart. Good, and as we get settled here, we're starting to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And see if that inhale can start at the sides and backs of your ribs. And as you exhale, feel that your belly falls. As you start to get a little sense of sinking, little connection to your center. And then as you continue to breathe, we're just going to add a bit of a pelvic tilt to this. So you're going to exhale and tip the pubic bone towards your belly button. And then inhale, drop your tailbone into the floor. Exhale, tip pubic bone to belly button. And inhale, drop tailbone into the floor. So as you tuck, you might feel a sense of lengthening in the low back. And as you fall forward in the pelvis into a bit of an arch, you might feel like an opening in the fronts of the hips. So last couple times, comfortable range. Feeling nice and easy. And then just finding a nice center position where you feel comfortable. And then from there, turn your palms to face in towards each other. Allow your shoulder blades to feel heavy and the back of your head to feel heavy. Inhale as you stretch your arms up towards the ceiling and back as far as feels good. And then exhale back down. And you're going to inhale, stretch the arms up and back. Palms facing each other, and exhale back down. Feeling the shoulder blades nice and heavy and the arm bones sitting in the shoulder sockets. The last couple times like this. And then we're going to put the two movements together. So as the arms lift, you're going to let your pelvis go into a bit of an arch. And as your arms lower, you're going to bring your pelvis into a little tuck. So you think tailbone into the floor, sit bones towards the floor as the arms stretch overhead, and then draw navel into the floor as the arms lower. So going into a little bit of an arch as the arms lift, feeling nice and open through your whole front body. And then as the arms lower, doing a little tuck and feeling open through your back body. So do last two like this with the pelvic and shoulder motion together. And then again, pause in neutral position of the pelvis and go into an arm scissor, one arm by the ear, one arm by the hip, and then switch and switch. So palms are facing in, feel heavy through the backs of your ribs and the backs of your shoulders. As your left fingers are reaching overhead, the right fingers are reaching towards your toes. So keep energy out through both arms. Do one more either side. And then pause in the middle. Bring the arms up towards the ceiling. Let your palms come together and keep that sense of reaching to the ceiling. Nose in line with your thumbs, feet flat, hips level. And just roll your weight from shoulder blade to shoulder blade. And allow the head to turn with it. So rocking from side to side, keeping the lower body quiet, keeping the palms flat, right on each other, elbows long. Do one more either side, continuing to breathe into your back, and then come back to the middle. Relax the arms down and let your palms face up. And let your shoulder blades and your arms relax onto the floor. Then bring your knees and feet together all the way in, but then take your right leg and cross it over your left leg, just like if you were sitting in a chair. And then allow your hips and your knees to sway to one side, back through center, and sway to the other side, and back through center. And see if with the legs crossed, you can feel a bit of a stretch in the side of the hip. So you're rocking from one side of the pelvis through to the other side of the pelvis. Do one more either side with the right leg crossed over. And then come back to the middle, switch the cross. So left over right, and just resting the left leg, just hanging out. And then roll from hip to hip. And maybe feeling a bit of opening through the sides of either hip. And it can feel different from one side to the other, or one leg crossed versus the other leg crossed. And do one more either side, just rocking from hip to hip. And then come back to the middle. Uncross the legs, and then bring your feet flat, knees vertical to the ceiling. You can let your arms come along at your sides. And then you're going to just press your palms, the backs of your arms, the backs of your shoulder blades, and your feet into the mat as you exhale. And then inhale, relax it. Exhale, press the palms, the backs of the arms, your shoulder blades, and your feet into the mat. Inhale, relax it. Do one more time. Exhale, press your palms, backs of the arms, shoulder blades, and feet into the mat. And then relax it. Now we're going to add a bridge. So if you do have a pillow behind the head, you can put it to the side for just a moment. So again, we'll start with our press. So press into your palms, the backs of your arms, your shoulder blades, and your feet. And then your hips just get light and lift. Hold for an inhale. And exhale, place the pelvis down. Press into the feet, the palms, the backs of the arms, the backs of the shoulders, and then lift the hips. Hold for an inhale. And exhale, release down. Let's do twice more like this, feeling the back body engage first, and then opening the front body. And relax. And one more time, pressing into the back body. Opening through the front body, and then gently relaxing down. So now we're going to make it a bit more fluid with the bridge. We're going to add an arm circle to it. So go in a range that feels good for your shoulders. I might scooch over just a little bit so I don't hit my bookcase. So you're going to start with your palms in towards each other, hands by the hips. As your hips lift towards the ceiling, the arms come overhead. And then you're going to circle the arms down to the hips as you lower the hips. So it's like a continuous motion. Arms up, arms circle down, hips lower down. Let's do one more in this direction with the arms. And then we'll reverse the arm circle direction. So as the hips lift, arms go to the sides and up. And then the arms lower as the hips lower. Hips lift, arms to the side and up by the ears. Hips lower, arms lower. One more time. Hips lift, hips lower, arms lower. And relax. Good. Okay, so now you can keep the arms relaxed. You can use a pillow under the head again. We're going to try a different kind of bridge later on, but we're going to do some hip work, some other hip work first. So allow your upper body to relax, and then make sure your knees are vertical to the ceiling so you're nice and parallel. They're not turning in or turning out, and they're just right in line with your two hip bones. Then feel like the weight of your sacrum, the center of your sacrum, the center of the back of the pelvis is sinking into the floor, and the back of the pelvis feels wide, so it's nice and heavy. Take an exhale and float your right foot off the mat, bringing it to a tabletop position, and then inhale as you control it down. So exhale, float your right leg off the mat. We're staying on the same side. Inhale to lower down, and see if the back of the pelvis can feel exactly the same into the mat as you move the right leg. So you're not rocking forward or backward or side to side. On the next one, let's hold the right leg in tabletop. Take an inhale. Exhale, you're going to straighten the leg and point the foot. Inhale, bend the leg and flex the foot. Exhale, straighten the leg and point. Inhale, bend and flex. So we're moving through our hip, knee, and ankle, all nice and smooth. Belly draws in to straighten the leg. Let's do twice more like this, staying parallel. And one more time. Good, now keep the leg in tabletop, but think of lining up your knee with your navel. So it's a little bit pulled to the midline. So now you're gonna imagine your thigh bone is like a book cover, a hard book cover, so it's strong. You're gonna open the leg to the side, like if you're opening a book, and then bring it back. Open the leg to the side if you're opening a book, and then bring it back. What you should feel as you open your right leg to the right, your left obliques turn on to not move your pelvis. So now I'm lining up my right kneecap with my right shoulder if I drew a straight line from knee to shoulder. And then I'm lining up my right kneecap with my belly button if I drew a straight line. So it's about shoulder distance and then back to the midline. So you might feel some lengthening through the inner thigh as you open and then engaging through the inner thigh to close. Try to feel for your waist, for your oblique muscles. Do one more time, opening only in a range where your pelvis does not shift. And then bring it back and then lower down. And of course, now we have a second side. So we'll start with just the hip fold. Feel settled in your pelvis. Exhale, belly draws in to float the left leg. Inhale to lower down. Exhale, belly draws in to lift the left leg. Inhaling down. So feeling for that thigh bone just rolling back into the hip socket. On the next one, let's pause with the leg in tabletop. You're going to exhale, straighten and point. Inhale, bend and flex. Exhale, straighten and point. Inhale, bend and flex. Last few like this, drawing the belly in to straighten the leg. And one more time. And then we'll hold the leg in tabletop, but think of just closing it a little bit to the midline. So you got somewhere to go. Think of lining up your navel, your knee with your navel, and then you're gonna open, if you can, lining up your knee with your shoulder. And then pull back in by drawing the low belly in. So you can control the opening, like if you're opening along your inner thigh, and then bring it back. So it's kind of like a clamshell feeling, like when we do our clamshells laying on our side. It's a similar feeling of feeling that turning out, that opening of the thigh bone. But because you're on your back, it's more core work, it's more obliques, hopefully, than anything else. Maybe some inner thigh. And do one more time. And then bring it back in. And then lower that down. Good. So now, feel like you're going to relax your low back into the mat. So not like jamming or smushing, just feeling long so that the belly is pulled in a bit. And then bring one leg to tabletop. Exhale, bring your other leg up to meet it. Try to have your shins parallel to the floor if you can. If you feel strain in the low back, the modification is to hang the feet like this. So that'll be a little easier. So now press your legs together, hover your arms, open your chest, and we're going to pump the arms as we breathe to a count. So you're going to inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, breathe out. For 20 and in, breathing into your back and out and pulling the belly in. Breathe in, pumping the arms nice and strong, nice and straight, and out. 40 in, you're pumping with a count, and out. 50 in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 60 in as your low back still relaxing into the mat, and out. 70 in as your belly still pulled in, and out. 80 in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 90 in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 100, hold the arms still. Lower your right foot, lower your left foot, and relax your arms. Okay, so now to open it up the other way, we have our second set of bridges, a little bit different as I promised. So nothing under the head, just relaxing your head onto the mat. This time we're gonna have a little bit, think of like a half bridge. So we're not gonna lift as high. So arms long at the sides, and then first just lift maybe halfway. So whatever your normal maximum is, think of about halfway, but where you're neutral and not tucked under. So it should feel like your sit bones are pointed towards the backs of your shins or your ankles, but not up towards the ceiling. Now, take both of your heels of your hands and place them on either side of your pelvis, just to feel that your hips are level. And then try to just slide your hips a little bit to the right and slide your hips a little bit to the left. So the feeling is that if your bottom was resting on the floor, it would just slide from side to side, or like an old school typewriter and just going side to side. But the hips stay exactly level, so one hip does not drop down or twist. The legs might move and knees might move a little bit, but we're focusing the feeling of the pelvis moving across the thigh bones. Let's do one more either side, and you'll feel one glute engage and then the other one engage. And then come back to the middle, and then gently lower the pelvis down. We have one more variation to do here. See how it feels different. So lift the hips back up to that half bridge, so not too high. And then with the hands on the hips again as your reference, allow your right glute to fall towards the floor as the left hip points up towards the ceiling. So you've rotated your pelvis. Come back to the middle. Allow your left hip to go towards the floor as your right hip goes towards the ceiling. And then come back to the middle. So you're basically doing a little turn of your pelvis from side to side. Maybe you could imagine your pelvis as like a seesaw, and there's a little kid sitting on either hip bone, and one kid drops down as the other one comes up, and then they switch, and switch, and switch. And do one more either side, and you should feel one glute engage more, and then the other one engages more. So there's a sense of glute to glute, although they're never completely relaxed. Come back to the middle, and then allow your hips to lower down. Okay, so for a little extra fun, we're gonna come up onto our forearms today. If that's not appropriate for you, the modification will be just to stay lying down like this. Supine is just fine. Otherwise, for a little fun, we're gonna come up to forearms. So it might feel a little more open through the chest. It might feel a little more challenging to stabilize. What you want to feel is that you're not doing this. So this is not good. This is like slumpy, sinking posture. We don't have to work very hard to be here. You want to lift your chest so you feel your shoulders are on, but you're not arching the low back. So it's not this. This is not good either. So low belly is just pulled in, where you feel the back of your pelvis just resting on the floor. And then you're going to bring one leg to tabletop. All right, so from here, exhale out, inhale, bend. So first just try maybe 5 or so with just the bend and straighten without letting the pelvis rock into an arch. Then we're gonna hold the legs straight, and then we're gonna lift and lower it. 5 times, exhale down, inhale up. You're going in a range where your pelvis and your low back do not move, whether you're laying flat or if you're propped up on your forearms. Either way, low back stable. Let's then take it into a circle for 5. And again, you're going as big as your pelvis does not move. Let's do 2 more this way. 1 breath for each circle, and reverse. Circle the other way. And 4, keeping parallel, 3, 2, and 1. Bend the knee in, put that foot down. We're gonna do the whole thing on the other side. Take a little break if you need to. Left leg tabletop. Belly is drawing in, but the back is not rounded. Exhale, left leg straight, inhale, bend. Exhale, straight, inhale, bend. And we did about 5 here, keeping the pelvis level, not letting the low back arch. And then on the next one, hold straight, lift and lower for 5. Exhale down, inhale up, 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, and then we're gonna circle down and around and up for 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, and then reverse for 5, and 4. Try not to wiggle, and 3, and 2, and 1. Bend the knee, relax the foot down, and then if you're propped up, just rest all the way down. And hopefully you can feel your abdominals a little bit to stabilize that position. So now you're going to turn onto your front side face down. Feel free to put a pillow or a towel under your forehead or your face if you'd like. Or you can also put a nice big fluffy pillow under your ribs and your pelvis. If you feel discomfort in your low back, that helps. So first part, we're going to start with the hands under the forehead, and the knees and feet are hip bone distance apart. So the knees should be just facing down. So we're just going to bend and straighten the left leg. Exhale, bend, inhale, straighten. And what we're feeling for is that the pelvis stays flat and level into the mat, and the glute, your seat, turns on first to bend the knee. So glute turns on, front of the thigh stretches. Last couple times like this, just feeling that nice leveling of the pelvis. And then try the other side. Exhale, bend the right knee, inhale, lower it down. Exhale, bend the right knee, inhale, lower it down. And feel that the glute turns on to bend the knee. So the front of the thigh and the front of the hip stretch. Last couple times. Good, and then allow both legs to be down again. Now, feel like you're lengthening your pubic bone down into the floor, but lifting your belly button away from the floor just a bit where you feel support in your glutes and abdominals. Then start to exhale before you then float the left leg off with a straight knee. Inhale back down. Exhale, and then start to lift the right leg. So you want your exhale to precede your movement by just like a millisecond. Exhale, belly draws up, and then the leg lifts as you continue to exhale. Inhale down. And we're alternating legs on this one so that you can feel that your pelvis is hopefully not rocking side to side. So trying to keep the pelvis level, which is actually then, this is a great, even though we're strengthening our glutes, you're also strengthening your back as you focus on keeping your back steady and pelvis still. So this strengthens the muscles along our spine. And let's do one more either side. Exhale, lift. And exhale, lift. Good, and then relax it down. Okay, so now you're going to take your arms, where we call them like H arms, so a little bit wide. If you feel discomfort in your shoulders, you may need to play with having the elbows just a little bit above or below, but we're relatively elbows in line with shoulders, relatively. Head can be all the way down, forehead down, or you can keep it hovering. For this part is fine. Keep your pelvis down, belly button lifted, start to exhale, and then float your arms off the floor. Maybe just an inch or two. Inhale back down. Start to exhale and lift your belly and drop your pelvis, and then float your arms. And inhale, lower down. So you want to feel the muscles between your shoulder blades on this one, and feel that your arm bones are suctioning back gently into the shoulder sockets. So we're opening our chests and fronts of the shoulders, and we're strengthening the backs of the shoulders. One more time. And then relax it down. Now take both arms straight forward, where the hands are just a little bit wider than your mat. So like your wrists are in either corner. Again, you can leave your head hovering, or you can keep it all the way down. Or you could do, we're going to lift an opposite arm and opposite leg. You can lift your head as you lift the arm and the leg, and then lower it. That's an option as well. So you really have 3 options. Hopefully it's not too confusing. Okay, so exhale, hover your right arm and left leg. Inhale down. Exhale, hover your left arm and right leg. Inhale down. And you're focusing on feeling long through your spine, through the front and through the back. So you're stabilizing your back just moving the limbs. Again, feel the belly lift and the exhale start before you move. Feel your pubic bone drop into the floor and your 2 hip bones drop into the floor. Keep reaching the crown of the head forward. Do 1 more either side. And then relax it down there. Good. Okay, so now you're going to press yourself up and come to a tall kneeling position. Looking good. Okay, so now you're going to take both hands on top of your head. And then you should be able to see your elbows and your peripheral vision. So we don't want to get pulled too wide like this. Just relax through your shoulders. And then stack yourself so you feel that you're stacking your knees, your hips, and your shoulders. Belly is pulled in. And then feel like you're going to reach 1 elbow to the ceiling as you inhale. Exhale through center. Inhale, other elbow to the ceiling. Exhale through center. So we want to focus the motion on feeling that we're moving from the shoulders. And, well, we're thinking about the elbow, but it's because we're moving from this upper body part. But we're not doing this where we go so far that then the hips have to move and then the spine is all slumpy. So that's too much. So we want to feel just that little stretch, maybe from the triceps down into the mid ribs. Should always feel comfortable feeling that sense of lengthening through both sides of the torso. And we'll do 1 more either side, just going side to side, breastbone stays facing forward. And then come back to the middle. Reach the arms out to the side, palms face the floor, chest is open. Do a little inhale, turn and look over your back hand. Exhale through center. Inhale, turn and look over the back hand. Exhale, center. So hips facing forward, head and chest turning. Head and chest turning, but you're as tall as possible, maybe even growing taller and taller and taller as you turn. And do 1 more either side. And then come back to the middle and relax the arms. Okay, now we're going to come to laying on the side. So if you like, you can use a pillow or any prop for under your head. Otherwise, you can use your arm. And so then we're going to start with the top arm. Both knees are bent, but the spine is long, so you don't want to pull the knee so far forward where your back is rounded. And then the arm is going to rest just to the top of your thigh, so it's just in front of your hip. If it's on the hip, you'll feel like you're getting yanked a bit, so it should be just to the front, and then your thumb is up towards the ceiling. Feel wide across your chest. Your fingertips are going to trace a rainbow, and you're going to reach up and over, and then bring it down. And reach up and over, and bring it down. And so feel for that expansion through the ribs, through the shoulder, reaching through the fingers. You can think of it as like a single arm snow angel. Inhale to rise, exhale to lower. And do 1 more time like this, just feeling for that range of motion. And then leave the arm down. Find the position where your heels are in line with your tailbone. And then keep just a little sense of engaging the bottom waist, just enough where you feel your abdominal support. Press the heels together and then lift your top knee and then lower it down. Lift the top knee and lower down. You notice the range of motion is not super big because you want to still have your hips stacked. So you don't want to lift so high that then you turn your pelvis. And we also don't want it to start to go where the work is just in the thigh. So we want to focus the work on the glutes. You're lifting from the back of the hip. We'll do twice more like this. And 1 more time. And then relax it there. Okay, now we're going to go into an arm circle with the top arm. So we'll get a bit more range of motion to that arm. Go as big as feels good. So if you're like, ooh, I have a little yucky spot, don't go to that little yucky spot. Okay, so you're going to reach your arm forward and by your ear. Keep your torso facing forward, but allow, if it feels good, your arm to come behind you and then sweep forward again. So feel that that motion is initiated from the shoulder blade. So you will feel your shoulder blade rise and fall, but it should just always feel smooth. Imagine that your arm is just really heavy and sitting in the joint. Let's, on this next time we come to the hip, reverse it the other way. So go behind the hip if you can, and then sweep it forward. For some people, to go behind the hip does not feel good for the shoulders. You may need to keep it a bit forward, so adjust your range. Go for a full, comfortable range of motion. So we get that nice, smooth motion in the joint, nice lubrication. One more time. Lubricating the joint. And then relax it. Okay. So now you're going to take your top leg out straight. So we'll leave the bottom leg bent. Top leg out straight, and you're going to flex your top foot. You're going to lower the leg, point, and lift. Flex, pull down, point, lift up. Flex, pull down, point, lift up. We'll do last two. Last one. And then hold at the top. You're going to point forward, flex backward, point forward, flex backward. Keep the low back long, so go in a range where your spine does not move. You're just moving the leg. Last three and two, pulling back from the glute, and one. Hold it. Keep the foot flexed. Make a little circle for 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, and then reverse it for 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, and then relax. Okay, now we're going to do everything other side. So you can press yourself up using your arms, or you can just turn right on over to the other side. And then again, do a little check and try to be in a long line from the back of your head, back of the shoulders, and the back of the pelvis. And you can start with the knees bent, but not so far in front of you where your back is rounded. And then we start with our snow angel arm. Perfect for the season, even though we don't get snow in the Bay Area. Palm faces forward, thumb to the ceiling. And the hand should be towards the top part of the thigh, or even mid thigh is fine if it's, you need to make it a little lower. And then you're going to inhale, reach up and over, and exhaling down. Go in a range where your elbow is straight. A good little cheat sometimes people do is to bend the elbow, where we do this, and then you're like, ooh, I can touch the floor. But that's not your shoulder, that is your elbow. So we want to go for shoulder range of motion and not trick ourselves with the elbow. Last couple times. Inhale up, exhale down. One more time. Inhale up, exhale down, and then just relax the arm for a moment. You're going to have your heels in line with your tailbone. And then with keeping the two hips stacked and both sides of the torso long and even, turn out the top leg and turn back in. Turn out the top leg and turn back in. Focus on the lift coming from the back of the hip and not the side or front of the thigh. So limit your range if you need to, where you feel just that back of the hip turning on. So it's that nice isolation there. Keeping the hips facing forward. Let's do twice more. Looking good. And then relax it down. Okay, so now we're going to go into the arm circle for that range of motion of the shoulder. So again, nice long elbow. You're going to reach forward. Arm by the ear, open to the back, feel the arm bone just falling into the socket as the shoulder blade just glides across the back of your ribs. Inhaling forward and up. Exhale, feel the stretch through the front of the shoulder to go back. Do one more this way, and then when we get to the hip, we'll reverse the direction. So now we go back and up and around, and back and up and around. Feel for that fluidity. And we'll do one more time. And then relax. Okay, so now we're going to take that top leg out long. And then you're going to flex your top foot and lower. Point your top foot and lift. Flex and lower. Point and lift. Feel the folding from the side of the hip, but not the side of the waist. So your waist stays just the same as it is throughout the exercise. We'll do last two and last one. And then we hold it at hip height. We point and sweep forward and flex and pull back from the glute. Point and stretch the hamstrings and pull back from the glute. So reaching the sit bone away from the top of the head the whole time, feeling as long as possible. Last three and two and one. Good, and then hold it out straight with the foot flexed. Make a small circle and smooth circle for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's reverse that for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then relax that there. Good, okay, so come back to laying on your back and just roll right on over. And then if you do need a pillow, use it, because we're going to do a little bit more core stuff. So sometimes with having the legs lifted, if you're someone who tends to grip in the neck, a little pillow might be helpful. So feel back of the pelvis nice and heavy into the mat. The low back is just long, but not pressing or jamming. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift one leg to tabletop. Exhale, lift your other leg to tabletop. Your legs are going to be about sit bone to hip bone distance apart, so they're not together. Now you're going to take your right hand and you're just going to touch the palm of your right hand to the front of your left thigh. So it's just staying, they're just connecting to each other, not really doing much. So feel that line that your arm creates, that diagonal line that kind of traces your obliques. And then exhale, straighten out your right leg and inhale, bend it. Exhale, straighten out your right leg. Inhale, bend it. So the lower your leg goes to the floor, the harder it's going to be to hold your pelvis steady. So you want to only go in a range where you feel that sinking of the low back and back of the pelvis in the floor. Exhale, blowing all the air out of your belly. Let's do 2 more on this side. Feeling for that abdominal connection, oblique connection. Hold it back in. Relax both feet. Take a little breath. Good. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. So now, take an inhale. Feel the back of your pelvis just like a shelf into the mat. One leg comes up on an exhale. Take another little inhale. Exhale, second leg up. So then left hand to the front of the right thigh, just to feel that little oblique connection. And it makes us a little off balance, right? So our obliques have to work a bit harder. Legs are hip bone distance apart, not too wide. Exhale, straighten, inhale, bend your left leg. But keep that just sense of energy of the right leg into left arm. Keep equally weighted on both hips. Exhaling out. Feel that inhale starting from the base of the pelvis. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more time. Bend it in, lower the feet, 1 at a time. And then take your left leg back up. Relax your left shin and your foot. Hold the left hand on top of your left knee and just do a little stir to release that hip. So try to relax the weight of your left leg into your hand so that your hand is stirring your leg. Reverse the direction, feeling the thigh bone just get heavier into the hip socket, releasing that hip. And then come back to the middle, relax that down, switch sides. So right leg up, relax your shin and your foot, take your right hand on your right kneecap, and then make a little circle. And you'll notice it is pretty small, pretty small. because it's really to where your right arm goes straight and then it can't go any further. So you're using your arm to stir the leg and you're relaxing the leg. And then reverse that circle, go the other way. And then come back to the middle and relax that side down. Okay, let your left leg go out long and keep your right leg bent. With your left leg long on the mat, you might already feel a bit of a stretch in the front of your left hip, which is good. Just make sure your low back is not in an arch. And then flex and point your left ankle. Flex and point, and maybe feeling for that bit of a hip stretch. Maybe you have super open hips and you don't feel any stretch, but it is opening up that front body. And then hold the foot flexed, and then just slide that left leg out to the left a little bit, just so you're a bit wider than your hip. And now just feel for a little turn in, turn out, just rolling that thigh bone around in the hip socket. So again, it's like just a little release for the hip. Turn in, turn out, and it might be small. Where I'm focusing on feeling it is from here. So from right here is where that rotation is coming from. And then find the middle spot, bring it back to parallel in the middle and come back in. And then we'll try that little hip opener on the other side. So right leg out long, left knee is parallel and vertical to the ceiling. And then first just flex and point your right ankle. So feeling for a stretch at the back of the ankle and then on the top of the foot. Thinking of reaching out through the toes. The toes are nice and long, and as you flex the foot, you can spread the toes. And then on your next one, just keep the foot flexed and the knee straight, but gently slide the right leg out to the right. And I think of where my heel is almost in line with my shoulder, maybe just a teeny bit more narrow. And then allow the thigh bone to do a little turn in and out. Turning in, turning out. So even though you'll see that the foot goes side to side, it's not initiated from the foot. It starts at the very top of the thigh bone and then works its way down to the foot. The foot just follows. And last couple times, maybe one thigh moves a little easier than the other. Usually that's the case. Find parallel and then find your middle spot and then bring it back in. Good, okay. So now we're going to come to a hands and knees position to do a hip exercise. Well, I really should say it's more of a full body exercise, not just the hips. So I'm going to be on hands and knees. If your wrists don't like being on hands and knees, you can modify by coming down onto your forearms like this. That's okay too. Or you can prop your wrists. So from here, you're going to have nice long elbows and wide fingers, and then reach your sit bones back as you reach your head forward. Lift your low belly away from the floor, but keep your natural dip in your low back so you're not rounding your back. Start to exhale and lift your navel as you slowly slide your right leg out straight, and then float the foot off the mat if you can. Tap the foot back down and then slide back in. We're going to alternate. Exhale, lift your belly and then start to move the left leg out to straight. Once it gets straight, then use your glute to pick it up. Tap it down and slide it in. Exhale, belly up and wide to straighten the right leg and float. Lower, bring it back. Feel like you're keeping equal weight on either hand, so your chest is centered. Feel like your navel is pointing straight down to the floor, so your pelvis is centered, and feeling for that nice, smooth, controlled motion. Do one more either side. Exhaling out, inhaling back, and one more time, exhaling out, and inhaling back. Now, walk your hands back and come to a tall kneeling position. If you need to use something for balance, you can, or you can put fingertips on the floor. But what we're going to do is take your right foot and bring it forward. So this is called a half kneel position. And so then Keep the low belly pulling a little bit away from your right thigh, just enough so that you're in neutral and not arching. And then just go a little bit forward and backward. Pelvis forward and backward. And what you want to feel for is a stretch in the front of your left thigh and left hip. Of course, there's some balance work and leg and hip work as well. So a nice dynamic moving stretch. Let's do one more like this. Good, and then if you can, see if you can just put that foot back without touching the floor, a little balance challenge as well. And then see if you can put the other foot forward. It works our balance in a different way. Okay, so hips square to the front, little sense of lifting the belly so that we protect the low back. And then feel that your pelvis goes a bit forward and backward. And you can press into that left foot for support, but try to feel a stretch in the front of your right thigh and the front of your right hip. Feeling tall in your spine. You're just taking yourself forward and backward. Good, and then we're gonna go even more forward over that left leg. Put your hands on your left thigh, tuck your toes on your right foot, and then can you just come to stand? The bonus points, being able to come just right to standing. Good. Okay, so we're gonna stay standing. So now, we're gonna do a little bit of balancy things, some balance progressions. So first part, we're just gonna stand with the feet about hip bone distance apart. You can be a bit more wide if you'd like, not too wide. And then the knees facing forward in parallel. Okay, so all we're gonna do first to start is feel your body just shift the weight from foot to foot, but keep both your feet on the floor. So think of just shifting your torso. Not too far, no. So you shift over as far as you can without getting that, sense of I'm gonna fall over and without lifting the foot. Then, as we're doing this, keep going. Start to think of lining yourself up from your second toe to your belly button to your breastbone to your nose, and then find the other lineup. So second toe, belly button, breastbone, and nose. And try that from side to side. See if it feels different from one side to the other. Is it easier to find that alignment on one side or the other? I should note it is harder to stand for this sequence on a mat versus like if you were on just your floor. So if you start to feel especially balance challenge, try standing on a hard surface. Okay, so now all we're gonna do is then start to make it a little bigger where can we lift that opposite foot? So we shift and lift. More like a mini tick-tock where we shift and lift, shift and lift. So feel the weight transfer so that what happens is it's just the foot lifting is a natural consequence of our weight transferring to the opposite foot. Still feeling for that lining up, second toe, belly button, breastbone, nose. And we'll do one more either side. Good, and then come back to the middle. Now, come to where your feet are, again, hip bone distance apart. And then, if you were just taking a step, take your right foot forward. So we call this staggered stance. So you still have the legs about hip width apart, but it's like if you just took a step. So now again, same idea. We're gonna start to shift forward and backward. And see if you can start to think of that alignment. Second toe, belly button, breastbone, nose over front foot. And then second toe, belly button, breastbone, nose over back foot. What sometimes we tend to do is when we go to the back, we hang back like this and we crunch into the low back. So don't go that far. That would mean that then your nose and breastbone are behind the tip of your second toe. So you want to still line it up vertically and not go too far back. But you should feel the hips working just a little bit. Rocking and rocking. Good. And we'll do one more like this. Okay, and then we're going to change one thing here. So now you're going to take that front foot, for me it's my right foot, and I'm going to open it more out to the side. So now it's like a diagonal line. And we're going to try that shift again. This front knee is going to have to bend a bit, so it'll feel more like a side lunge and then back. I might need to bring it in just a bit more narrow. There we go. Side lunge and back. So it's still that sense of shifting from foot to foot. And you'll notice the front knee bends as I come forward. As I get on top of my back foot, I am letting the heel lift on the front foot to be able to get there. So feeling just for that little shifting to one foot to the other foot. Let's see how that feels. So you'll feel a little loading into your front ankle, little work through the hips and our balance and our proprioception. Let's do one more like this. And then come back to the middle, but now we have a second side. Okay, so start with our staggered stance. Feet hip bone distance apart, just take a little step forward. And then start to feel for that shift forward and backward. So line up, second toe, belly button, breastbone, nose on the front, and then on the back. And as I come forward on my front foot, I do allow my back heel to lift. And as I go back onto the back foot, I allow my front heel to lift. So the feet don't have to stay flat, but some part of the foot is staying in contact with the floor. It should just feel natural. Your one heel will just naturally lift, and then the other foot will naturally lift as you think about just finding that center alignment. So we're working on changing our center of gravity and then bringing our weight on top of that center of gravity. All right, so now let's come back to the middle. Take that left foot or whichever leg you have forward and just bring it out a little bit to the side. You might have to test it a bit to see then where you can still get over both feet. And then again, think of lining up over second toe of the front leg and lining up over second toe of the back leg. So the front knee can bend a bit. And then as you go to the back heel, that front heel can lift a bit. So it's kind of like a side lunge. Going out to the side and then standing up tall. And feeling for that diagonal motion of your torso. So your pelvis is moving diagonally. So it's forward and to the left and backward and to the right. Last couple times. And one more time. Good. And then now that we've kind of moved all around, come back to both feet in parallel. And then start to find that shift on top of one foot. And then just lift the opposite foot. And see how your balance is now in one foot. Might feel a little bit easier. We should have done a little test before. Good. And then put that foot down. And then try the other side. Start to shift your weight. And then just naturally pick up the other foot. And then we're going to try again on the other side. So feet under the hips, start to shift your weight and then pick up the other foot. This time, we're going to have arms long at the sides. You're going to do an arm scissor, one arm up, one arm down, and then switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. And try to stay tall, reaching one arm up, one arm down, and one more either side. Good, and then come back to the middle. Try that on the other side. We're gonna shift and balance, and then one arm up, and the other arm up. And you are reaching in both directions. You'll feel maybe a little wobbliness on the one foot, in your ankle, and your foot, and your knee, and your leg. That's good, all the muscles are working. See if you can keep your elbows straight. One more either side. And then put that foot down, come back to the middle. Good. And then last thing, you're going to cross your hands over your, touch either side of your hip. Slide your fingertips along your shirt side seams, the arms come overhead, and then just relax the arms down. Alternate which arm is on top. Going into a little pulling shirt. Do one more either side. And last time, inhaling up. And exhaling down, relax the arms, let your shoulders shrug up, let your shoulders drop down, let your shoulders shrug up, And let your shoulders drop down. Do one more time. And then find the middle spot, neutral position, and relax. And then you guys are all done for today.